Maps define us. Imaginary lines that delineate neighborhoods. They speak to where we've been and who we are. But these old boundaries only show part of the picture. Here are the new maps of Brooklyn. These are the maps that tell the story of Brooklyn today. And this is what it's like to live on the grid.
My name is Zephyr Teachout. We are on the grid in Brooklyn. Today we are looking at Arabic speaking at home, where Brooklynites speak Arabic at home, what they do, how the language intersects with where people are from, how it intersects with religion. It turns out there are over 420 million Arabic speakers worldwide, and tens of thousands of them live right here in Brooklyn. So we're going to start with John Mollenkopf, who's CUNY's director for the Center for Urban Research.
Good morning.
Good morning. Great to see you.
Great to be here in another interesting part of Brooklyn.
Where are we?
Well, the north end of Bay Ridge. Here's your map of the day.
Thank you. What we're really trying to figure out today is where people speak Arabic at home.
Right.
But also where they're from. So where are most families that speak Arabic at home coming from originally?
Well, mostly parts of the Middle East. According to the census, the places of birth of the foreign-born are Yemen being the first and Syria being the second, and Lebanon and Jordan and Palestine also being in the mix with smaller shares. But if you look at the ancestry question, it seems like a lot of people also came from Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
About a third of the Arabic-speaking household population here in Brooklyn was born in New York State. So there's a big second generation. Mm-hmm. And maybe a third generation, since people have been arriving for so long. The median year of arrival for the immigrants is 1983. So many people have been here for a long time, although about 20% of the foreign-born have arrived just in the last decade. So I think there's been a little bit of a recent spurt of additions to a very long-standing community.
Mm-hmm. How much Arabic speaking at home would you see around the whole map of Brooklyn?
Well, there are other little clusters. There's a very long-standing cluster along Atlantic Avenue and sort of Cobble Hill, Jekyll Gardens section. Sahadi's Market, you may have seen on Atlantic Avenue. That must have been there for at least 50 years. And there are certainly other Arabic-speaking people spread around, but this is the main big concentration.
So talk a little bit more about work. Can you give a portrait of this particular area in terms of where people work?
People living in this community are more likely to be self-employed, as I said, and more likely to work in Brooklyn.
What kind of self-employment?
Well, a store owner could be self-employed, for example, or an accountant could be self-employed, or a doctor, or a lawyer, or...
So 1 to 5 person businesses, fairly small businesses? Is that, I'm just trying to...
Yes, most of these businesses would be family-owned. They would be capitalized by families pooling their resources to get started. And they would be serving the community and, of course, other people who might be interested in having halal products or buying a gold necklace or whatever, which is way beyond just the Arabic-speaking community.
Right.
I come out here when I'm looking for Middle Eastern products for my cooking. Well, of course, most of the people from these countries are Muslims, but from certain countries, particularly like Lebanon, Jordan, and even among the Palestinians, there's a substantial number of Christians.
In terms of a political profile, is it Democrat, Republican, or neither?
Well, in registration terms, it's majority Democrat.
Okay.
There are also a lot of independents, and there are some Republicans. And I think that there are contested forces within the community about which way it wants to go politically.
I forgot to ask the most basic question, which is how many people speak Arabic at home in Brooklyn?
About 27,000 people live in those households.
And why is this important to the overall understanding of Brooklyn today?
Well, in terms of immigration into communities like Bheard, we tend to think of it as a end of 19th century, beginning of 20th century phenomenon that's faded away. But here we see a new immigrant community adding life to an old immigrant community.
Well, thank you again for this map.
Okay, thanks again.
Thanks a lot.
Brooklyn has the largest Arabic-speaking population in all of New York City. Our map takes us to Bay Ridge to learn more about this rapidly growing immigrant community. Although we're talking about the 27,000 Arabic-speaking homes in Brooklyn, I want to be clear that overall there are many more Arabs here. There are second or third generation Arabs who speak English at home who would not be included in this data. Hi, I'm here to meet Isa.
Sure. A minute.
Isa, page to the front. Isa, page to the front.
Hi.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Isa.
Zephyr Teachout. So
Hi.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Can I practice my Arabic greeting?
Yes, please.
Sabah al khair.
Sabah al-Nur. Very
Thank
nice.
you. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up? Where's your family from?
So my parents both came from Palestine, Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
They came to New York in 1969.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, myself and my siblings been born and raised here, right here in Brooklyn.
Who are your customers? Do your customers tend to come from one particular region?
Not necessarily. Our customer base ranges between all over the Middle East and North Africa. You have Moroccans, Tunisians, Libyans, Algerians. You have the Egyptians, the Palestinians. You have the Yemenis, a few Saudi Arabians, a little bit of Iraq, Lebanon, a lot of Lebanese, Turkish. There's a growing Turkish community.
Well, I'd love to learn more about halal.
Okay.
And what it is, what it means. Do a lot of your customers come in looking for halal foods?
They come here because they know everything in the store is 100% halal.
Everything?
Everything.
Oh!
We make sure that we read the ingredients on any of the items to make sure that there's no pork byproducts or alcohol-based products. And if there was alcohol, it wouldn't be halal as well. My brother Musa can talk more about halal.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Zephyr.
Hi, Musa.
So nice to meet you. So I heard a rumor that you wrote a master's thesis
Correct.
on halal foods.
That's right.
What is halal?
Halal is basically just a word in Arabic that means lawful.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't pertain to one thing in particular. It pertains to all of the lifestyle of a person leading a lawful lifestyle or a halal lifestyle.
In Bay Ridge, when you say halal, does
Nowadays, when you say halal, especially in this community, people automatically think of meat.
Mm-hmm.
They associate that with meat.
Mm-hmm.
The animal shouldn't be exposed to any kind of harm. The slaughtering shouldn't be done in front of another animal.
Mm-hmm.
They shouldn't be caged.
Mm-hmm.
That's the proper halal way.
Yeah, so it seems to actually overlap with a lot of the food movement around free-range food.
The principles are the same.
Yeah,
yes.
right, a very similar sort of principle of humane treatment. Well, it's a really interesting shift, and thank you so much. I'm glad I got a chance to meet you and learn from you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Now I'm headed next door to Yemen Café to grab a bite to eat and learn more about when and where Arabic is spoken here in Brooklyn.
My name is Balady.
Zephyr, so nice to meet
Zephyr.
you.
How are you? How's everything?
It's wonderful. I'm having this wonderful tea, and I was just talking to the gentleman behind me because 20 years ago, I spent 6 months in Morocco, and I recognized the accent.
Oh, the Moroccan accent?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. 20 years ago.
They were saying mashi mushki.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
mushkina or something.
I can't understand them.
Yeah.
Their dialect is completely different than ours. But,
Yeah. So you can't understand Moroccan
No,
Arabic.
Moroccan. They can understand us, but we can't understand
What
them.
about Palestinian Arabic?
Palestinian Arabic, all the types of Arabic we could understand. Egyptian from the movies, their movies.
Yeah.
Since we watch them so much in Yemen, yeah, we understand them. Mm-hmm. But they have a hard time understanding us, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is your restaurant?
Well, parents' restaurant, but
Okay.
we're running it for them.
Okay. So I have to ask at first, do you speak Arabic at home?
Yeah, my father made sure that we spoke Arabic, and he would send us back to Yemen because I was born and raised here. Mm-hmm. But he wanted us to keep the culture. The Arabic, we learned it from on the weekends. My father would take us to the mosque, and the imam at the mosque would teach us the holy book, and he'll teach us how to read and write. And so that's what I plan to do with my kids.
And do you think in Arabic, in English?
English.
Okay.
Don't tell my dad that.
Obviously, if you look up on the wall, you can see you get awarded by every publication.
Yeah, it's the work of my dad and my uncle. His name is Muthanna Hatem and Yahya Subai. It started the business in '86. It was more of a club for Yemenis. Like they would go over there to go hang out, because there was such a small population of Yemenis back then in '86.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in '86 you could count how many Yemenis were here, But now it's just, they're all over.
What would a more sort of typical Yemeni plate look like?
We are meat lovers.
Okay.
Yeah, but if we had a choice, we'll eat meat all day, all night.
Okay. Lamb?
Lamb, mostly
Okay.
lamb. Yeah.
What are some things that you think are interesting or important to know about the Brooklyn Yemeni community?
They're the nicest people I've met. Yeah, they're really nice. They're very hospitable. When you go over there, they'll really take care of you. Especially it's our culture. That's how we are. So Muslims are. When they invite you in, and then they'll feed you. They'll give you everything.
Do you only eat halal food?
Do we only eat halal food? No.
Okay.
No, here we serve all halal. Don't get me wrong. Here our lamb comes from a guy named Ahmed downtown on Atlantic Avenue. He brings us all of our lamb, and it's all halal.
But you eat non-halal food when you're outside of the restaurant?
Well, not everything could be halal. Like, I love Five Guys.
Since today we're talking about speaking Arabic, you have to indulge me and teach me a little bit of Yemeni Arabic.
Yemeni Arabic, all right.
Okay, so can you give me this food is delicious.
الأكل حلو.
الأكل حلو.
الأكل.
الأكل.
أكل حلو.
الأكل حلو. I don't mean to be comic, but
No. It sounds funny.
I'm sure it sounds hilarious. Thank you so much for welcoming me
Thank you for having
being
me.
so gracious and talking. I think I'm going to sit and finish up.
Finding a place to eat familiar food is an important part of the immigrant experience, but so is becoming politically active in your new community. To that end, I'm on my way to meet Linda Sarsour, Executive Director of the Arab-American Association.
Hey, how are you?
Nice to see you. Welcome.
It's great to see you here.
It's my
I know,
home.
I know all about your political work, but I hadn't realized how much it was also a social services organization.
Well, that's the heart of it. You got to help. You got to help the people, and then you get to hear their stories, and you get to then know what issues you got to fight for. So that's how I get informed on the issues I work on.
Yeah. Okay. And just, we talked to John Mollenkopf this morning a little bit about the demographics. He was saying the median income is about $65,000 for a family. Can you just give something of a portrait of the kinds of jobs people might have?
So what we know from the U.S. Census is that people say, Arab-American community are highly affluent and well-educated. And I think that that has changed over the years for me anyway, particularly with the work that I do and where I am now. Many folks coming from conflict parts of the Arab world are low income. Some families, 5 to 7 people living in a 1-bedroom apartment, taxi cab drivers. We have restaurant workers, people working in bodegas and small stores around here. We absolutely have a huge, doctor community and professional community as well. But I think oftentimes there's a big overall generalization that we are a very, well-to-do community. And in fact, that's not really the case, especially not with the clientele that we see at this organization.
And what about the politics? So my stereotype is that, I don't know if it's stereotype, but I have a general sense that Arab Americans are not that politically active in this area. Is that true?
I think we have come a long way in years past. This community where we are in South Brooklyn, Bay Ridge, is a predominantly conservative Democrats and Republicans, not very progressive on many issues, including on things like policing. The Muslim community is actually, interestingly enough, the most progressive, or at least of the most progressives of the district on many issues.
That's really
immigration reform, on issues of corruption, on issues of language access, and things like supporting municipal IDs in New York City. Very big on that. Obviously, on policing and police reform. There's many strides, and this younger generation of Arab Americans understands the importance of political engagement and are much more visible and out there about their issues and what they stand for. So I think that vibe is really being helpful to us here in the area.
Well, obviously you're a big part of this, but so what are external things that the Arab-American Association of New York has been doing?
So the Arab-American Association of New York has taken local campaigns that we've been working on in New York City and giving them national platforms. So when we talk about ending surveillance of Arab Americans and Muslims by the New York Police Department, we also know that this is happening in other jurisdictions around the country. So how do we amplify what's happening in the organizing work happening in New York City and other places in the country? And that's been really important to us. And we've gotten a lot of platform on civil rights issues, national security reform. This district that you are in right now was the most heavily targeted by NYPD surveillance. To the point where in secret documents, we saw them say things like, sitting at the coffee shop, they were speaking in Arabic. No, really, what were they supposed to be speaking in there? So even the language being criminalized.
It's actually really interesting, right? Looking at the language, not from the inside, but from the outside, what the language has meant, and the idea of the language itself was a sign of criminality for the NYPD.
It's central to our culture, but it's been demonized.
Right, and how have people in this community then responded in terms of telling their kids about speaking Arabic out in the world? Is there any sense of there being a danger in talking publicly in Arabic, or? So it's been the opposite. It's been some of the younger people who sometimes are like, no, I don't want to speak Arabic, telling their parents, don't speak Arabic outside. Or even in some of the reports that we saw from the media around after we found out that the NYPD is spying on this community, where some of the coffee shops wouldn't put Al Jazeera, the news channel, up because they didn't want to provoke conversations that were political. So they're only watching sports all day long, and then the fact that people have to change who they are or what they usually do. Arabs are inherently political. We can't. That's part of our blood. We can't not be political. All of us are senior political analysts. We could solve all the problems in the Middle East, but we haven't yet. And the fact that people don't feel like they can be political in their own community, I think, it just shows you the infringement of civil rights of Arab Americans and Muslim Americans. It's fact. It's real. It's happening. They just called me, so I'm going to see what they want. Okay. It's always great to see you.
Oh my God, thank you. You're welcome.
For the past 9 years, the Arab-American Association has been holding its annual Bazaar. It's an amazing event that features live musical and dance performances alongside vendors selling Middle Eastern food and artifacts. And I think it helps dispel misconceptions about Arabs and highlights the fact that this culture is not monolithic. It's important to understand that not all Arabic-speaking people are Muslim. I'm on my way to visit a Lutheran church so I can learn more about Christians who speak and pray in Arabic.
Father El-Yatim, thank you so much for meeting. There's a fairly broad stereotype that people who speak Arabic are more likely to be Muslim. But here we are in a Lutheran church. So who comes to your church?
People from the Middle East. They come from Egypt, from Syria, from Lebanon, from Iraq, from Palestine, from Jordan. So we have a big mix of people who come to the church.
And when you give an Arabic sermon, which Arabic do you speak in?
It's the classical Arabic.
Fusha or?
Fusha, yeah.
So anybody, no matter if they come from Palestine or North Africa, can understand you then?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. And so can you just take us back to 30,000 feet and give us some sense of the history of Christian Arabic speakers?
The Arab community started coming here in the late 1800s, early 1900s. The idea was that the missionaries who went from the US to the Middle East to evangelize, they encouraged the Middle East to come to the US to work so they can go back and support their families. Unfortunately, they came here and they stayed here. Instead of going back, they brought their families here. And they settled what we call now Little Syria by Washington Street, by the financial district. And that's where the Arab community started. And from there, they start going to Brooklyn and to other areas.
So are the first Arabs who moved to this area predominantly Christian or predominantly Muslim?
They were, I would say, 100% Christians. Okay. And they came mainly from Lebanon, mostly from Lebanon and from Syria.
Although there's a significant Christian community of Arabs, there's also a dominant Muslim community of Arabs.
What we are seeing that in the last 30 years, majority of the Arab immigrants who come into the US are Muslims. But if you look at the statistics, the number of Arabic Christians in the US is still more than the Arab Muslims in the US.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yes.
And I wonder if that's true in Brooklyn too.
In Brooklyn, there's a lot of Arabic Christians, but they are not visible because they assimilated in the community.
And what about Lutheranism and Arab Americans?
Well, Lutheranism, when missionaries came to the Middle East, they divided the Middle East among themselves. The Presbyterians went to Syria. The Lutherans came to the West Bank. The Episcopalians went to the 1948 areas. So you can see that the Middle East has been divided among the different missionaries, and that there was their mission field. My great-grandmother saying, this guy coming from America, tell me about Jesus who was born in my backyard. and she was absolutely right, even though Christianity was born there, and Christianity actually went from Bethlehem and Syria to the rest of the world.
What would you tell us about the relationship between faith and community here in Bay Ridge?
First, I want to say that not all Arabs are Muslims and not all Muslims are Arabs. Yeah. We need to understand this fact. I think the Arab community in this area, both Christians and Muslims, are united. No matter what's happening in our homeland, what's happening with our communities here, if we are discriminated against, harassed, rejected, or whatever, we need to keep hope alive. We need to continue to work together to realize our goals.
So how do you say keep hope alive in Fusha?
ابقي الأمل عايش. الأمل, hope, أمل, which is a very beautiful word. It's called الأمل.
Well, it is such an honor to get to meet you. I'm about to learn how to dance.
All right, my favorite part.
Okay. So I'd like to invite you downstairs if you want to come dancing with me.
Absolutely.
Oh, wonderful.
Here we go, it's Dabka time.
Okay.
Father El Yatim and the church play a supportive role in the community for Arabic-speaking Christians and Muslims. So they've invited the Freedom Dabka Group here to teach me some of their moves.
كيف الحلك؟
الحمد لله. Everything fine. How are you? كيف حالك?
كيف حالك? كيف حالك? So, I'm ready to dance.
Okay, excellent. We're ready to dance always.
Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about the history of the dance?
Oh, well, it's very hard to really give 100% answer, like an accurate answer of how Dabka formed. You know, like some people say it was like against a protest of the enemies. They were stomping their feet, and some people they theorize that it could be from like roofing. People back in the days, they used to like compact their roofs with mud and straw, and so they used to stomp on it just to make it firm, I guess. But it's not really accurate where it came from. You know, some people even say, oh, it came from Palestine. Some people, Lebanese, say they came from Lebanon. Syrians say it came from Syria. Jordanians say it came from Jordan. And for us, we just carried it from our ancestors. We could try doing something with the team right now.
I'll try. Okay, thank you. Where might you see this kind of dancing?
Everywhere, weddings, events, fundraisers, whoever needs us, we're more than welcome to, or happy to, perform.
Well, I would love to meet your team, the Freedom Dabka team.
Sure, they're right over here.
Hi.
Yeah. Well, let's dance. Okay, so the first thing you should know is that everything starts with the left foot. So it's like this. Take the step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. 5. Yeah, this is when he told you like that, huh? Like this,
5, 6. There you go. 5, 6.
I'm going to take this moment to bow out and let them continue. Traditionally, women and men would be dancing separately anyways. It's clear that this community is flourishing, thanks to the efforts of leaders like Linda, Father El Yatim, and all the small businesses that make Arabic-speaking people of all religions feel at home.